I can do anything. I can reach any goal today. I can do what I want. I can be what I want to be.
Hi guys, Katie Azevedo from SchoolHabits.com. This video is about how to read better, and I'm going to give you 4 tips for actually remembering what it is that you read. Alright? So to teach how to read better, I could simply just go through 10 reading comp strategies that will help you read and understand complicated material. Yay! That is not what this video is about. Sorry if that's what you were expecting. But instead, I'm going to give you 4 tips for how to read better. But here's the catch. The tips don't actually have anything to do with reading.
Really?
I know. So the following 4 reading comp tips are factors that we have complete, legit control over. Yet we often neglect to think about them when we sit down to read a book, or begin a study session, or work on a project, or do anything that requires us to actually think. So here are the reading tips that have nothing to do with reading. Oh, and these tips are actually going to help us do anything better, not just read. All right, cool? Number 1, pick the right time of day. We are all hardwired or conditioned to be more alert at a particular time of day. This is called our chronotype, or our biological clock. So we want to align our reading or study or work sessions with our natural energy levels, or our chronotype. There's science behind chronotypes, which I am way too unscientifically inclined to explain here, right? But Google it if that floats your boat. Personally, I can't even do the simplest tasks at 10 o'clock at night. I've actually brushed my teeth with face lotion before, true story, because I was too tired to pay attention to what I was doing. That's what happens, I turn into a pumpkin. So I certainly, personally, would not sit down to do something mentally challenging at that hour. But 5 a.m. and I'm like, I'm on it, right? I told you, it's crazy. You gotta know yourself. You gotta know what time of day you're wired, and then you do your most difficult work then, if it's possible. I know there's exceptions to everything. Number 2, you gotta be aware of your stress levels. If we have had a particularly bad day, or have just been feeling stressed out in general for whatever reason, we're absolutely gonna struggle with reading comp, and with anything at all, right? When we're stressed out, nothing works. Our brain can only be in one place at one time. And if we're worried about our friend, right, being mad at us, or an upcoming project due date, or anything, right, we're gonna have no mental energy to put towards processing what we're doing, let alone what we're reading, which is like thick stuff. So if you've got a lot on your mind, we gotta see if we can resolve these issues before we sit down to do our work. I know, in a perfect world, we would just solve our issues before we sit down to do our work, right? But if you really can't solve the issues before you have to get your work done, what can be really helpful is to at least come up with and write down a game plan for addressing those issues at a later date. We'll be better able to read, comprehend stuff, do stuff, if we know how and when we plan to deal with the other stuff that's stressing us out. Otherwise, it just like sits there, right? In the corner of our brains, mocking us, doesn't it? So give it a plan, acknowledge it, put it to the side, say, yeah, I'm gonna get to you later, okay? And that can be so helpful. Number 3, anticipate the duration of the work. So before we begin working or reading, we should get a sense of the size of the task and how long we think it's going to take to complete. If you're a slow reader and you've got 3 chapters to get through, you'll need a good chunk of time. But if you're a quick reader and you only have 10 pages to read, yeah, you're not going to need much time. If we have an open-ended task, such as studying for a test, okay? We should set a specific duration that we want to work for. The point is, it's important mentally, okay? This is mental stuff, that we have a sense of how long we're going to be working before we begin so that we can mentally prepare for the task. Think of it this way. Before we sit down to watch a movie on Netflix, right? We usually check to see how long it is, right? Like before I go for a run, I generally know how long I'm gonna run for. You feel me? So having an end time in sight can make our reading session or our work session or study session go so much quicker because we're not constantly wondering, when is this gonna end, right? All right, number 4, this is the last one. Know your attitude toward the task. We all have attitudes, and adjust it if needed. And I get it. Not every book makes us want to hug it. Not every task makes us feel like unicorns and sprinkles. But when we feel negative about what we're about to do, whether it's reading a book or studying or writing or running, right? Anything, the task instantly becomes harder. Like we think, I hate this. And then boom, it's hard. It happens like that. So you want to know how to read better? Figure out how to not hate what you're reading.
Ooh.
I know this sounds so fluffy-duffy, but this is totally possible if we consciously make an effort to find some kind of connection to the book, some purpose that we can hold on to as we read it. If all we're thinking the whole time is, I hate this book, and my teacher's making me read it, and this sucks, right? We're gonna struggle through it. So instead, we gotta shift our attitude and our thoughts toward something positive. That's true for life too. Like life is hard if you think it's hard too. So this, like I said, might sound all fluffy-duffy, but you gotta trust me on this one. Now, there are some strategies for doing this. I wouldn't leave you without any strategies, would I? So there's some strategies for shifting our attitude about what we're reading. You could, before you read, watch a video on the topic, like a fun one, right? Before, so you understand the story. You could do a Google search for the topic before we read so we can get like the gist of the material. It makes it so much easier when you get the gist of something. And then even something silly like ramping up enthusiasm for a book by getting new colored pens, right? For your annotations. Seriously, whatever works, do it. New colored pens, totally do it for me, every time. So, well, none of these 4 tips for how to read better will actually change the complexity of our material or our literacy level. They most certainly are controllable factors that affect our reading experience, and therefore they affect our reading comprehension, which is our ability to understand what we're reading. And what is the point of reading if you don't understand it, right? Now we're gonna have a much easier time understanding what we read if we're alert, awake. We're not stressed. We anticipate the duration of the activity and we don't hate what we were doing. Those were the 4 things that I just walked you to, right? So that's it. Give these 4 tips that don't have anything to do with reading a whack and let me know your comments or questions below. I totally read them all. And as always, please like this video if you liked it or subscribe if you haven't done so already. What? You haven't subscribed? Get to that. It really helps me build my channel. And as always, thank you so much for watching.